We've already done so much out of sequence, why don't we just say fuck it and go get the best item in the game. I'm Final Insanity and welcome back to Metroid Zero Mission. Now as you can see, there's a little missile pathway up here that we can shoot out and then use some clever wall jumping to get up there. Bomb jumping also works, but wall jumping is fancier. As you might be able to tell, we're supposed to get to this place from an entirely different location than where we did, but because I knew that that missile block path was there, we can just skip all that shenanigans and go straight here. It's kinda odd that they would hide the best item in the game, arguably, behind just a few missile blocks, but if you're willing to look around, you can get the screw attack really, really early. It does exactly what you would think it'd do. You jump into things and they explode, and that's the end of that. So now basically any normal enemy is no longer a real threat to us. We can just jump into them and they're just gone. There's nothing they can do about it. There's a small handful of enemies that'll still give us some problems, but for the most part, we can handle any enemy by just kind of walking up to them and being like, yo, what's up? I'm happy to see you. Goodbye now. Now this lower section leads us to a few more items, so we're going to be taking that instead of the north, which has nothing for us. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to get super missiles kinda early, because if I didn't, well, we wouldn't be able to do anything with this green door, and that would just really kinda suck. Now if you're good, you can build up a speed boost in the room to the left of us, and from that you can use that to shoot yourself all across the top part of this room and pretty much avoid any annoying platforming and enemies here, but it's kinda tricky and I don't think it's really worth it for this. Especially when we can just run past all the enemies fairly well enough as it is. And lava's still a threat to us, so we need to be careful. Now we're seeing a lot of enemy dispensers, more or less, here, and that's going to be important coming up here. They're kind of hinting you towards what you're going to have to do in order to get this next item. Now here we're at probably the hardest missile to get in the game, at least for me. I have the most trouble with it because I'm very stubborn and insist on doing it like as soon as possible before I get any later items. You can see that we have a super missile on top of that pillar that's just kind of floating in the air, nothing special to it, and we have an enemy dispenser over here. The puzzle is that we need to lure an enemy just so that it's flying at the right height in order for us to freeze them and then jump on them to be able to get to the super missile. And you can see I just did it right there. The thing that makes this tricky is that if you have the screw attack, you want to jump from a standstill. Otherwise, you'll just screw attack right into the enemy and, well, they'll die. But the fun doesn't end there. We also have to wait for them to thaw out, freeze them again, and use them to get over to this wall to find yet another hidden item. They didn't pull any punches with this room, and it kinda shows. But at least we get to shine Spark all the way back. And that's cathartic. And just because it's easier to do this on the way back, we're gonna go ahead and use the Morph Ball to speed boost right to the end here. And that's basically how the Morph Ball Shine Spark works. It's nothing all that complicated. Works exactly how you might think it would. But as I was saying earlier, it's a real pain in the neck to try and build up a Shine Spark in this room because you'd have to go ahead and freeze all the red guys in just the right spot so that you don't get interrupted when you're trying to run there, because trying to kill them while you're running, not the best idea because they take multiple hits. Blue guys just die in one, but... Well, now we have the map of this place at least, so we have some idea of where we're going. And it even looks like one of those Chozo Markers from earlier is somewhere nearby, so maybe we'll see if we can find out where that is, Yeah, I mean, it's not really too hard to figure out where we're going next, but yeah, with the screw attack, we can also kind of see a lot more of just how much of the environment we can interact with in a more meaningful way than just using it as a platform. Although there are some instances where they kind of throw you for a loop by putting crumble blocks where you would not expect there to be, like just covering an entire bridge over lava of those breakable blocks so that if you have screw attack and you try and jump around, well, you're gonna fall in and have a really bad time. And thankfully we're getting more mileage out of the various suit by going through this superheated room. I mean, technically we don't need it if we have enough health, but on hard mode that's kind of a tall order. I don't know if I've actually mentioned this, but in hard mode, your missiles and health expansions all do roughly half of what they would normally. Missiles normally give you 5, and here they give you 2, and health gives you 50 instead of 100 like it does on normal and easy. And as you can see, it's still kind of annoying to deal with some of these guys, just because jumping on things that are like right below you can be a little tricky at times, and sometimes you land on the floor when you're just trying to hit something that's like barely on the edge, and it's a little finicky sometimes, but it's generally not a huge deal if you miss a hit on something with the screw attack. This hall's got a whole lot of overgrowth to it. It's interesting. We haven't seen a place like this in Norfair yet. It's interesting to see that there's actually some sort of vegetation that's thriving down here. You'd think this place would be really hard for that sort of stuff to thrive in, but looks like something's defying the odds. But here we get the wave beam, which does what you'd think it'd do. It lets your shots go through walls, and it makes them a little more powerful. Nothing all that special, but certainly a welcome upgrade to find. And this is as good as our beam is going to get for a long, long time. So get used to it. If it's not good enough for you now, well, I have bad news for you, buddy. But that said, it is still a very welcome upgrade solely for its shooting through walls ability, since that'll let us find bomb blocks a whole lot easier, and in turn find secrets just that much faster. And it looks like we've looped back around to a very familiar location where we just kind of mercilessly kill local wildlife for no other reason than they're in our way for the most part. Yeah, if this guy gets too close, just pop him with a few missiles, lay down some bombs to get his soft underbelly, and well, there you go. That's that. And we get an energy tank at least, so it was all worth our time in the end of the day. But that concludes our little world tour of Norfair. We've pretty much cleaned it out, except for one other place we'll be going to later, but well, for now we can just keep on heading forward and see what there is down here further. Now, I did say that heading down further through here will take us to Ridley's lair, and that's true, that's where we're heading, but looks like there's a whole lot of plant life down here that's getting in our way. And a cute little call forward, call back, it depends on how you view the timeline really, to Spore Spawn from Super Metroid. This is Imago? Yeah, I don't really get the name either, but that's what this species is called, so there we go. Anyways, the method of fighting this thing is pretty obvious once you just kind of take a scope at the battlefield and, you know, what this entire hallway leading up to it has taught us. Vines equals bad, and, well, as we've already seen, worms equal bad, so yeah, just kind of the logical combination of the two. And this very unique Ripper that you're seeing here, you can't kill it no matter what you try and do. Its only purpose is to sit there to be frozen and used as a platform, but I mean, hey, if that's the kind of utility you need in order to not be part of Samus's rampage, I mean, there are worse methods of, you know, living. Of course, this place is called Ridley's lair, so I guess it makes sense that he's returning home to roost. I mean, he is technically avian, sort of. I mean, he's like a dragon dinosaur thing, but... Anyways, we could go through that super missile door, but if we come up here is that what I think it is? I mean, well, but how did it get all the way down here? I think this requires some investigation. Yeah, if you don't have super missiles by this point, you do need to go ahead and do this, and I think it's pretty clever how they sort of hint to you that, hey, something happened back where you just were. You should go check that out, because as you can see, it looks like Imago has just kept moving further down, and, well, apparently seems to have a bit of a home here. Now, you can see Imago has matured and become a bee of some sort. Or maybe they're a wasp. Honestly, I don't know what they are. They have a stinger though, and that makes me terrified of them. But as you can see, the more you shoot this thing in its stinger, of course, its obvious weak point, they start getting faster and faster, which is why I'm using regular missiles for right now instead of just going at it with all my super missiles. Once it gets down to absolute low health and turns red, it starts going extremely quickly, and I want to save my super missiles for that so that I can just nail it right away, as you see there, and just take care of it before it uses its super speed to be really annoying to deal with. But our reward for defeating it is what would normally be our first super missile tank if we didn't take advantage of the level design and just get them early. So, there we go. That's where we're supposed to get our first super missiles, and that's how we're supposed to open that super missile door that we saw down here. Pretty simple. Nothing much to it. So, let's just dive a little bit further into Ridley's lair and see what there is down here. There is a nice hidden passage down here, which is great because all the enemies up there, they're dangerous. They do a lot of damage. And if you fall down here, yeah, that energy tank is a real jerk, but with some nice bomb jumping, or going around, you can get to it. So it doesn't really matter too much, but I wanted to bomb jump because it's cooler and faster. Now this room I sort of alluded to earlier when we first got the screw attack. It is a bridge over lava made entirely of crumble blocks, and that's just plain rude. But we're about done here. We've made a good bit of progress into Ridley's lair, and next time we're going to be diving even further and seeing what kinds of secrets we can dig up in this place, and maybe even see if we can find Ridley himself? I mean, it is taking him a while to get back home. Wonder if he stopped at the grocery store on the way back. See you next time. Goodbye.